Okay, the second provisional cast on, it still does use a crochet hook, but you don't really need to know how to crochet. With this one, you work directly around your needle. In effect, you're going to do a chain stitch around your needle, but again, you use a crochet hook, but this goes, instead of having to pick up the bumps along the back of the crochet chain, this works directly onto the needle. So this is the one I always use for sort of lots of stitches. If you're doing something that's going to be provisionally cast on in the centre back, for example, and then picked up the centre stitches and worked out on the other side after working one side, this is the one I would use. So I've got my knitting needle that I'm going to be working off. I've put a slip stitch, I've put a stitch onto the crochet hook that I'm going to be working with. And for the first one, all I'm going to do, and notice I'm going to use this a lot more like a knitting needle. So I've wrapped the yarn around and I'm going to pull it through. Now in fact, thinking about it, I normally hold the yarn as if I'm knitting rather than as if I'm crocheting. So I've got one stitch already on my needle. So hold that around, wrap it around the hook, pull the hook through the stitch, wrap the yarn around the back of the needle. You can see I've got 2 stitches on there now. So wrap the yarn around the needle, come right around in front of the hook, pull the yarn through. Okay, and again around, through, around, through. I'm going to keep the crochet hook at the front of the needle so I don't ever lose track of anything. And as you can see, as I go along the needle, I'm basically making a crochet chain along the side. It's quite irregular because it doesn't actually matter too much how far you pull. I don't want it to be tight because that just makes things a little harder when you're undoing. So around, pull through, around. This actually gives you a really lovely looking match to a traditional cast off. If you do it in the main colour in your main yarn instead of a contrast, then you get this really lovely matching edge to the cast off. So continue doing that, wrap around, pull through, wrap around, pull through, wrap around, pull through until you have as many stitches on your needle as are needed. Okay, and as with the previous method, I'm just going to cut my yarn, pull through to secure, so essentially do a chain but pull it all the way through. So again, it's very hard to tell just by looking which is the side that will undo easily. It's this side. So once again, I'm going to tie some knots so that I know that it's this side, and then all you need to do is start knitting, and then once you've knit according to the pattern, you undo this in exactly the same way as the last provisional cast on that I showed you. So if you haven't watched that, go and watch it and you'll see how to undo it. So all you do is you just knit. It's just the same as any other stitches that have been cast onto your needle. You don't need to do anything differently. Just knit according to your pattern. And that is my favourite provisional cast on. I don't actually know the name for it, but it's the one that I use most often because I think it's easy and